All right, what's going on, guys? DMP back with another trade recap. Today, we're going to go over the market and what I took. As you can see, the market did bleed down super hard today. But in my opinion, it wasn't the easiest to read to see we're going to short down this hard. But I'm going to give you guys my insight and kind of help you guys understand how you could have possibly, anticipated this move. So first things first, as always, let's start on the higher time frame. So here's the hourly time frame. Disregard, all this to the left. These are just previous drawings. I just failed to remove them. So just focus here on this range that I'm going to show you. So first things first, we had this 6 p.m. high. So this is where we opened in the market overnight at 6 o'clock. And as you can see, we had this high here, and then we have these London highs here at 3 a.m. So what I noticed, from the pre-market or, just from my analysis in the pre-market was that ES had taken this high out and NQ failed to do so. Now, keeping in mind, we are coming off of a daily bearish gap. So let me go ahead and zoom out here so you guys can see that. So just to mark it out very quickly, we have a daily bearish gap that we tapped into yesterday. So today, we could anticipate potential delivery off of that gap. So back into the hourly here. So right, we saw that SMT up here. And then what I'm noticing are these hourly imbalances here. So we have an imbalance right here, and we have a second imbalance right here. So what I like to do when we have stacked gaps like that is just combine it into one imbalance. And, ideally, what I'm looking to see pre-market is, does market want to hold this gap bullish? Do we want to go for these draws and liquidity higher? Or are we failing, holding weak and looking to inverse? So on the 7 a.m. candle here, first thing I see is that we ended up inversing this gap, and that correlates with our bearish SMT at the top. So coming into the market, I'm leaning towards the bearish side, but I could always, make a scenario why we would go higher. But let's get further into it. So that's kind of what I saw in the hourly time frame on our higher time frame. Then coming down into the 15-minute, I noticed here, so this is kind of your pre-market range. And, this is the area here where I'm looking. I noticed we have SMTs, here at the bottom. But then I also see we've put in another SMT at the top after putting in this initial SMT and inversing on the hourly. So pre-market, what I saw was I noticed we had this gap here. At first, we inverse this gap. And at first, around 8:30, I'm thinking, okay, if this is going to hold, I could very well see how we can go up to possible London highs and even beyond that, being that we had all these, buy side levels marked out above. But obviously it's pre-market, and I typically never ever trade outside of the New York AM session. So, I'm seeing this pre-market is just collecting data, just seeing, okay, we flipped this 15-minute. Now are we going to hold into the market open, make more confirmation bullish, or, are we going to fail? So next thing I see is we make this, next 15-minute gap, and pre-market, this 9 a.m. candle here ends up flipping that gap. So now this SMT up top is holding, and, we've invalidated bullish confluences and now created bearish ones, right? So I'm seeing this coming into the market open. So I'm wanting to be bearish for the most part. Now, the last line of defense that I possibly saw where price could hold was this 30-minute gap. And I typically don't ever look at the 30-minute, but in this case, this was the last imbalance on the leg that could have held price to possibly move higher, or, just to prevent price from going lower. And once I started to see us, becoming weak inside of this 30-minute, I was considering taking short. So as you can see, we had this 15-minute gap before the market opened, and this was my condition coming into the market. Basically, it goes on the lines of, if we flip this gap off the open, I might look to, long into the buy side levels above. And, if we hold the gap, I would look to be shorting. So coming down to the 5-minute, again, just scaling on your time frames. You want to go from your high time frame to your low time frame. So far, all of our time frames from the hourly downwards have aligned. So now, I see this, and I don't have it marked just because the 15 is overlapping, but we also had this 5-minute gap. So this whole area here is now bearish, right? So ideally here, if price wants to go higher, I need to see this area flip in order for me to consider longing into, levels above. So I don't think I had it marked out. Is this okay? No, so that is Asia. So at this point, I want to see Asia low, which is the sell side level marked out here. So now let's scale down to the 1-minute time frame. So off the open, we actually wicked into the 15, barely tapped into the 5-minute. We also got a good golden pocket retrace. I don't have my fib set up right on trading or on Top Step, but we got a nice golden pocket retrace here into the 0.618 level. You can see that we just wicked into it along with the 5-minute gap tap. But the reason I didn't end up taking a short from here is I just didn't have good 1 minute confirmation personally to take this short. So I ended up fading this. Now I did go down to a seconds time frame and try to frame it, the 30 and the 15 as well. But I didn't see anything. So realistically, I know some people took something like this right here, with a stop here, and then, you know, took it down to previous day low. That was a very solid trade. The reason that I didn't end up taking this trade was because honestly, I just wanted to see Asia. I didn't expect that we were going to be super weak off the open to dump 125 points down. So honestly, I wasn't framing previous day low until seeing that we flushed through Asia and wanted to continue lower. So unfortunately, I missed an entry here. And you very well could have gotten an entry off of this technical 1 minute CISD right here. And the reason that this is a CISD is because we come up, kind of sweep out, this accumulation range, and then also tap into a PD array, and then flip back down, closing below, which makes it a now CISD. You could see you could have limit entered that, and you would have got a great entry to target either Asia or previous day low. So unfortunately, I missed that setup and didn't take it. So now my next target is, obviously the previous day low into this daily gap here that you can see I have marked. And I saw that this 1 minute gap here was holding, but I wasn't confident in taking it. One, just because we had this 2 minute gap above. Now you could very well call this a breakaway just because this third candle was pretty strong away from the gap, but this wick down here, gave me some conviction that we could retest the 2 minute. So I ended up fading this 1 minute, and I also didn't like how long price hovered in here to give a reaction. And then we were also super close to the drawn liquidity that I wanted, which was this previous day low. So if I'm going to take a 1 minute, test like this, I'm going to take something like this with a stop here and look to target the next drawn liquidity. And as you can see, previous day low was far too close. And then, we're tapping into a daily gap. So now I need to collect more data to see, are we going to remain weak, or is this daily gap going to offer some kind of a, reversal move up? So I didn't take this trade here. And obviously, as you see, I have these other sell side targets marked out, and I could have very well looked to target these for pretty good RR, pretty solid trade. But again, I wanted to see what we're going to do inside this daily gap. So what I ended up taking was a retrace over here. So what we had was a 3 minute gap and I believe a 2 minute. Yeah, so we had a 3 minute and a 2 minute gap as well. Basically, at this point, price is obviously very bearish. So I'm just wanting to see a light retrace hold if we're going to obviously continue bearish. So basically what I saw was we're in this 2 minute, 3 minute, cool. That's enough. And then also coming down to the 30-second, I saw that we were starting to round off and flip. So I ended up taking my entry here off of this candle. Didn't wait for this to inverse. And the reason being is that we're coming out of the 2 and the 3 minute. This is a pretty strong reaction out of that. We have near-term draws right here and right here. Right. So at this point, I'm thinking this is a solid trade. And again, price is very weak. So I went ahead and took this entry there. And my stop was just at the internal high. So this is about a 1.4R. Very solid continuation trade, just down to the clear draws and liquidity. Now, why am I taking this? Well, in my eyes, if we're wanting to hold this daily gap, if we're wanting to start reversing, we shouldn't be seeing price, come down heavy and come down weak, especially out of these lower time frame gaps. At this point, these lower time frame gaps should be looking to flip and inverse, if we're truly looking to reverse in price from this point. So, the fact that we ended up holding bearish tells me that, we still want to go for draws lower. And as you can see, from this point, from where my TP was to where we ended up coming down to, we came down another 358 points. So very solid trade here. And then basically went break even once we wick filled. So ideally would have went break even at this internal low here, but went break even here at this wick fill after some good displacement. And as you can see, got caught in a bit of a retrace. This small 1 minute ended up holding and then delivered to full TP and beyond that. Took this on 5 combines, as I mentioned, trying to be more accountable. This month, I've been getting my ass kicked. I cannot lie about that. But honestly, haven't let it deter me or haven't let it knock my confidence. I just need to be, better is all it really is, as simple as it is. Just need to be better. And so far, this week I've been doing that. So yeah, yesterday patience paid. Didn't get to make a recap for yesterday, unfortunately. But today, same case, patience paid. I didn't chase price from up here, waited for a proper setup, within my system and went ahead and took it. If we go over here and look, we're about, just over 2/3 of the way of passing these accounts. Like I said, I'm not looking to full port these. I'm looking to take these somewhat slow. I am sizing pretty heavily on them, but not full porting, the entire balance at once. As you can see, Monday was a losing day. And, I mentioned having to be better about walking away on red days, coming back the next day. And so very much have been using this week to do just that. Monday took a red day. Tuesday came back and made it up, by a long shot. Wednesday, I took a break even, like a small scalp, and then called it. And then today took a very solid one and done. So, very much have been trading a lot more, I guess, cautious, but my discretion has been better, which is what I'm used to. You can see, these stats don't really mean much, but between 8 trades, I've had one loser. So I have around an 88% win rate, which isn't bad. But again, these are all eval stats, doesn't really mean a thing. But yeah, that pretty much covers the recap. I need to get better at getting a routine going with YouTube. I'm sure I'll get into it the more I do it. But yeah, I need to make these recaps. And ideally, also should make a recap on the losing day. Monday, I should have had a recap for that day, but I didn't. So that's just another part of my accountability. But yeah, I definitely just, want to hold myself accountable, be more patient with setups, and posting these videos also is just pretty much like a journal for myself. So it works out that way. But yeah, that's going to be it for the recap. Not too hard of a day, not the easiest, just due to it just completely plummeting. But yeah, if you guys caught something today, you guys caught a dub, great work. And as always, if you guys have any content you want to see, be sure to leave a comment down below, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.